person's actions, two families now are left to grieve for dreams that will never be realized. And as I speak right now, there is an individual who is being presented in court and charged with various crimes. 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois, is now charged by complaint after his initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Matthew Sharbaugh with the following: murder in the first degree for the murder of 30-year-old Yaron Lashinsky, a foreign official and official guest of the United States. Mr. Lashinsky was here on official business for the State of Israel. The defendant Rodriguez is also charged with 2 counts of murder in the first degree for both Yaron Lashinsky along with 26-year-old Sarah Lynn Milgram of Kansas. In addition, there are several felony firearms charges for discharging a firearm in the middle of a violent crime and for causing the death of an individual through the use of that firearm. Now, this investigation is continuing, and as you can see, we have most of the stakeholders here today who will be given an opportunity to speak with you. But what I want to be clear about today, since this is the first time you're hearing from me, is that this is a horrific crime, and these crimes are not going to be tolerated by me and by this office. A young couple at the beginning of their life's journey, about to be engaged in another country, had their bodies removed in the cold of the night in a foreign city in a body bag. We are not going to tolerate that anymore. And I am not unaware, based upon my own background, of the repercussions of this kind of case. This is the kind of case that picks at old sores and old scars, because these kinds of cases remind us of what has happened in the past that we can never and must never forget. I want to mention one thing. The Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., where this young couple had been at an event, was built around a brick building. That brick building was previously a synagogue called Adas Israel. It was one of Washington's first synagogues, a congregation that was created in 1869. And Ulysses S. Grant, our president, actually attended the dedication of that synagogue. And so to this day, that synagogue and that area remains a cornerstone of the Jewish community in D.C. Let me also say that violence against anyone based on their religion is an act of cowardice. It is not an act of a hero. It is the kind of case that we will vigorously pursue. Anti-Semitism will not be tolerated, especially in the nation's capital. Now, we're going to continue to investigate this as a hate crime and a crime of terrorism, and we will add additional charges as the evidence warrants. So this charging today is the initial charge. Remember, we're less than 24 hours from the crime itself. And we are working furiously and diligently with our partners behind me. We've got massive amounts of evidence that we are vetting, we are verifying, and we are reviewing. This is the start and not the beginning. And finally, let me say this. President Donald Trump appointed me to this position. This is the nation's capital. We should all be proud of this capital. And the president wants D.C. safe. And I and the partners behind me are going to do everything we can to make people proud of this city, whether they're from this city, from the country, or from other parts of the world. Thank you. Now I'm going to call on Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Good afternoon. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm Mayor of Washington, D.C. I want to thank Judge Pirro for inviting us today. I'm joined by the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Pamela A. Smith. Metropolitan Police Department is the local D.C. police. We are here to echo what the U.S. Attorney has said, that this crime will not be tolerated in our city. We're grateful for the partnership with our federal partners. MPD and the FBI have worked hand in hand on this investigation and will continue to do so. I also want to acknowledge our families in Washington, D.C. who are suffering and who are afraid and fearful for what this act has done to their sense of safety. But we know that feeling is represented around the globe. Earlier today, I convened a meeting with the Mayor's Interfaith Council, where we spoke with leaders of congregations and Jewish institutions across D.C., as well as D.C. council members and the Attorney General for Washington, D.C. We heard our leaders reiterate messages of love and solidarity with the Jewish community. Sadly, we have had practice standing together as a community to fight anti-Semitism, both in hate speech and in hateful acts. And so in this moment, we stand shoulder to shoulder as one community, united in love, but also committed to justice for this young couple. I also had the opportunity to speak with the Smalls family, and Sonny Smalls is well known in Washington, D.C., and his family has poured decades of time and love into making sure we have the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. And one special aspect of that museum is that it celebrates local Jewish life. It focuses on D.C. Jews and how they have been a part of our culture and building the city that we love. So once again, our city stands with our community, working with our institutions to make sure we have all the resources that we need to support them. And with that, Judge, I'll turn it over to Chief Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chief Pamela A. Smith, the Chief of Police of the Metropolitan Police Department. Let me begin by reiterating my condolences to the family and friends of Jeanine Lazinski and Sarah Milgram. I also want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, Judge Pirro, and Director Jensen for their collaborative effort and support around this tragic incident. What I also will say is that everyone at the Metropolitan Police Department is holding the family in their thoughts and in their prayers. Our detectives have been working around the clock in close partnership with our federal partners, and this effort regarding this investigation has been a collaborative effort. All of the agencies involved in this investigation have been coordinating seamlessly overnight. Members of the Metropolitan Police Department's Office of Homeland Security Intelligence are working in partnership with the FBI to analyze the suspect's activity prior to the shooting. Around D.C., and I want to speak specifically to the community here in the District of Columbia, around D.C. you will see an increased presence of law enforcement officers around the community. You will find us around our faith-based organizations. You will see an increased presence around our schools and places like the D.C. Jewish Community Center. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our Jewish community. I also met, along with Mayor Bowser, with some of our faith leaders. I was moved by their desire to ensure that we keep our city safe and we keep our Jewish community members safe. And we are ready to support them in any way possible as we move forward. Most folks in this city know that I take the relationships that we have with our religious communities very seriously. I want to again express and remind the community that if you see something, say something, please let us know. Any information that you provide for us, we will utilize it in support of conducting this investigation. I will now turn it over to the Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office, Steve Jensen.
Thank you, Chief. As the Chief said, I'm Steve Jensen. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office for the FBI. And I'd like to start by reiterating what Director Patel pushed out publicly, that the tragic murder of these two Israeli embassy employees outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum last night was both an act of terror and directed violence against the Jewish community, and it has the full and unwavering attention of the FBI. The FBI Washington Field Office, JTTF, has been in lockstep with MPD, and with the assistance of FBI offices across the country, we're continuing to investigate and contact the subject's associates, his family members, and co-workers. We are also executing search warrants for his electronic devices, reviewing his social media accounts, and all of his internet postings. Regarding some internet postings, we are aware of some writings that are purported to have been authored by this subject. We're actively investigating to determine both the authorship and the attribution of these writings, if they belong to this subject or not. I'd like to thank our partners in the U.S. Attorney's Office for bringing these significant federal charges in quick order within 24 hours or less than of the time of this incident. Make no mistake, this attack was targeted anti-Semitic violence, and it won't be tolerated. These significant charges are a step towards restoring justice for the victims and their families, but our work is not done. The FBI will continue to pursue all leads and use all available resources to investigate this attack. We join MPD in affirming that there is no ongoing threat to this community. And we're also seeking assistance from the public. We do have gaps in this investigation currently. We know the subject landed in the D.C. area on May 20th and that he was taken into custody on May 21st. We're asking the public, anybody who had contact with the subject, anybody who knew his whereabouts or where he was located during that gap of time, to contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or to submit an online tip at tips.fbi.gov. And with that, I will turn it back over to Judge.
Thank you very
Thank you, ma'am.
much. All right, we'll take a couple questions. Go ahead.
Yes, so we had spoken to a witness who said that this was a private event, that it wasn't publicized. So is there any idea how he actually knew about this and showed up at this specific event?
You know, that's something that we're investigating right now. I think that, Chief, you'd agree with me on that. That's the kind of thing. Do we know? And
That's still under investigation.
yeah, we're looking at that. There's a lot. Everybody understand. This is fluid. It's happening now. Go ahead.
Madam U.S. Attorney, you mentioned terrorism. Can you speak to any possible nexus to terrorism? And Assistant Director Jensen, are you confident that this gunman acted alone? Is there any indication at this point that he was inspired? And then also curious if the chief has any concerns about copycat attacks.
Well, first of all, let me say that we're going to continue, as I said, to investigate this as an act of terrorism and as a hate crime. And as we do so, we will bring additional charges whenever those charges are warranted and provable. And I suspect as we go forward, before we get to the grand jury itself, that there will be more charges added. Yes, sir.
Has there been any indication from the investigation so far that the subject was on the radar for the FBI or some other investigative agency around the country? Was he involved in any activism that might have put him on the radar? And also, if you would also, on the issue of whether there were anybody else connected to him, obviously those writings were posted, and the timing of that, we're wondering whether you've seen any indication that someone connected to him might have been associated with posting those?
So, a lot of questions.
Okay.
Let me try and break it down. Chief, I think you addressed some of this yesterday when we first initially briefed the public on this matter. There was nothing in criminal records or in our holdings that indicated that this person was previously known to us or would have popped on our radar or MPD's radar. We know that he originated outside of the district, came in for a conference on May 20th, and was a resident in the Chicagoland area. That's what we know about him currently. As far as associates, relatives, the reason we're checking associates and relatives is to put all the pieces together. There's a lot of unknowns. So known contacts, known relatives, known associates, these are basic investigative steps to put a composite picture together of who the subject is, what did people know about him, and who was he closest to. From that, we'll build out the investigation. Aside from that, I couldn't answer more.
Hi.
I have a quick question. Oh, sorry, Keith Alexander, Washington Post. We be seeking the death penalty. Can you talk a little bit about that? And also, the night of May 20th, any idea where he stayed at all?
I think that we have an idea of that, but let me just say that the president and the attorney general have both indicated that in cases where the death penalty is warranted and seems appropriate, we will use it. It's far too early to say whether that is the case, but this is a death penalty eligible case.
And what about the night of May 20th? Anyone say any idea where he spent the night?
Yeah, I think it's still a part of the investigation.
Definitely still part of the investigation.
Yeah. I don't want to get into the weeds. I think that right now he's been arraigned. He's been presented. Excuse me.
It's in progress.
It's in progress. Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you just, Mr. Jensen, could you just clarify one thing you said? You said he was in town for a conference. Was that a different conference than the event? And could you tell us more about what that particular event is?
So we're still looking into the nature of the conference we believe associated with his work, and we are contacting his employer and trying to figure out what the nature of his job was. We believe the reason for his flight was related to a conference for his work.
What's the nature of that work?
I don't have it at the top of my head.
And then the other question is, he seems to have been sort of stalking, I forgot what the word was, pacing in front of this event. And he seems to have had pretty easy egress in and out of the place. What does that say about the level of security, and are you investigating that for, and Mayor Bowser, are you considering increasing security around these sorts of events and institutions?
So regarding the movements of the subject, obviously still very much a part of the investigation. Composite of collected videos, witness statements to put a full picture together before I would comment on any one particular act that he may or may not have been observed doing. As far as security goes for a private entity, I wouldn't comment on that. And as far as posture goes, I would defer to the mayor.
I think that the director is correct. This was not a event that falls into our special events category, where MPD and other government agencies have a stood-up posture. This was a relatively small event at a museum, so MPD or the government agencies wouldn't stand up additional resources unless they were requested or unless we got a call for service. More than that, I will say that we have had a local program and a federal program that have helped institutions, faith institutions, and others who have been concerned about violence, anti-Semitism, or other hateful speech and rhetoric. And very recently, we have issued grants, and we have issued grants over the last several years to those institutions to harden their security, add cameras, add additional security, and I believe that the museum has done some of those things.
I'm going to sneak one last thing in.
All right. I just want to follow up with this. We've been advised that the defendant has appeared in court. He's had an attorney appointed. He's been advised by the judge that he could be punished by death or by life. And, of course, we sought detention. The defendant waived his right to a detention hearing and concedes to detention. And right now a preliminary hearing is set for June 18th at 1 o'clock. So it is done.
One clarification, Mr. Jensen. You are not ruling out that this manifesto might have been written by this gentleman, right?
We don't know, and that's still very much a part of the investigation.
Sorry.
Can I ask,
All right.
Chief,
Thank you all.
can I
Yes,
ask,
sir.
Chief,
One more.
Yes. Were any MPD officers working details at this event last night, perhaps off duty? And then a follow-up to that, when you say the FBI said a target event, do you believe the victims were targeted or simply the event was targeted?
So let me answer your first question, Mark. MPD was not assigned to that event. As you know, you've heard me say on last night, there were security officers assigned to the event, but not Metropolitan Police Department members.
On or off duty?
On or off duty.
Okay. And then the targeting, was that the event that was targeted, or these two individuals specifically targeted?
We're not saying at this time.
One question that people are interested in is that it was announced and very well known that the Jewish Museum a short time ago opened a major LGBT exhibition, and we were wondering if the investigation is looking into whether the suspects might have known something about that.
Sir, we are looking into absolutely everything. There is so much information we're looking at, and I must tell you, coming from New York, I've never seen the cooperation and the collaboration that I'm seeing here. It was immediate, it was instant, it was coordinated, and my hat's off to this area. And we're going to clean it up. Thank you. Is that you?